This is the Besotted Pride of West London podcast, bringing you Besotted in Qatar, our final podcast from Qatar. This was actually, in fact, recorded just before and just after England's quarter-final defeat to France. I decided to hold back for a week or so after the pain had subsided before I decided to put this podcast up, because I felt it would actually be more reflective. My name is Billy Grant, and I've been going around Qatar for the last 3 weeks talking to all sorts of characters from all over the world about the Qatar World Cup, at the Qatar World Cup, and I've got a real range of views, which is really interesting. You can check them all out on PrideOfWest.London. We've got quite a few episodes up there, met some really, really good people, so definitely check it out. As you know, Argentina are about to play France, because it hasn't actually happened as yet. They're about to play France in the final. And at the end of this podcast, I'm going to attempt to give a short summary of a load of views and a load of my thoughts as well on the good and the bad of the Qatar World Cup. But in the meanwhile, let's cast our mind back to the quarterfinals, hours before England took to the field against France in the Al Bayt Stadium in Qatar. In this episode, you're going to hear from fans from Qatar. You're also going to hear from fans in France. Let's hear what they had to say. This is the Besotted Pride of West London podcast, and I'm coming to you on the eve. It's not even the eve. It's a few hours before the England's game against France. Big quarter-final game here. I'm in the bar. I'm in the Belgian bar in, I don't even know where this is. I think it might be West Bay or something like that. In Doha, in Qatar. Sitting here watching the Moroccan game. I was out early in the souk this morning. The Moroccans were literally, they must have not slept all night, because they were dancing and they were singing at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock this morning. They've come there in their droves. There's millions of them. They're everywhere, all over the place. And in the stadium, making lots of noise. The Portuguese, you would never know they're there at the moment. Still 0-0 at the moment now, so this game obviously potentially, and I say potentially, may affect England, obviously, if we go ahead and we beat France, touch wood. So I'm just going around, as I do before the match, just talking to people, getting their vibes before the game, and I've got two illustrious characters in front of me here. I've seen these guys everywhere I used to go. Literally every tournament we used to go to. They started off as David Seaman. The two David Seamans as well, and they used to dress up as David Seaman with the shirt and the gloves and the hair and the moustache and the full Monty, everywhere going around getting their photographs taken and supporting England as the David Seamans. They did move on to another guys after that when David Seaman retired. They'll tell you about that. David Seaman, number one. How are things? How are you?
I fear Mbappe. That's who I fear tonight. And right now, I'm thinking, these big boys, they turn up against England, whether it's Ronaldinho, we saw that in 2002, us David Seamans, he loved the ball over us. Ronaldo always turns up against England. Diego Maradona, these big boys turn up against England. We need Kyle Walker to flatten this man.
I mean, listen, obviously you were David Seaman back in the day. How would you have dealt with a game like this?
Well, I'm now 50 years of age, so I take it very calmly. I've seen it all before, and no doubt we'll lose on penalties somewhere along the line.
David Seaman, number two. Listen, just go back to this whole thing. All you have to do is just Google sort of David Seaman look-alike England supporters, and I'm sure they'll come across them. What brought you to do this? Because it was a big thing at one stage, wasn't it? Literally, you went everywhere dressed, both of you, as David Seaman, and you look like David Seaman as well.
Yeah, well, back in the day, there was a pretty big problem with the England fans at that point, and
in what way?
Well, it was still a big hooligan element, and it was pretty unsavoury to travel with England. So we thought we'd do a little bit to sort of calm stuff down and make it a bit more fun. And the way we did it was sort of dress up as David Seaman, and we met some very interesting characters through the way, including yourself. Also, we've been on the Liechtenstein border with some of the, more unsavoury elements back in the day. But dress up as Seaman has allowed us at that point to sort of really meet a lot of great people and do a little bit to sort of portray the England fans in the way they should be around the world. Because I think we got a deep passion for the game. And, sometimes that boils over. Last night we saw it with the Argentinians and the Dutchman. And I think that's, probably similar to ourselves. That passion can sometimes boil over. when there's a couple of guys dressed up as idiots, you can maybe just bring it back and keep it on the fun side of stuff rather than the not so fun side.
And have you had any stories? You must have some tales, or maybe you were like, say for example, like with me, I used to, back in the 90s, as you used to be able to, I used to get into places where maybe you weren't allowed to get into places because you're allowed to blag it in for whatever reason. I used to sort of kind of fake these press ID cards from the Face magazine, and literally I went all around the world getting into like the best places ever, saying I was from the Face magazine. That's kind of what I did. That was my thing, and everyone used to laugh at me, my mates, because obviously they didn't know about sort of reproduction and how you can reproduce things on the blagging element. Your blagging element was obviously your David Seaman. Did you manage to get into any places that you shouldn't have done?
Well, I'm not sure it's because we dressed as David Seaman, but we did end up.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. So spare tickets just going around there as well. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. So we've just been offered a spare ticket by a character. But anyway, sorry. Go back to what you're saying.
Yeah, no. So probably the nearest we got to blagging away in was we got into the England Hotel in Sapporo, and then. Ended up sort of hanging out watching the guys training the day before that the last Argentina match. So maybe we'll have a few tips for next time round. So
that's right. And onto this game, I'm going to say as well, interestingly, obviously David Seaman's, you've been around the world. Last time I saw you in Brazil, if I remember rightly, because I don't think I saw you in Russia, did I? No, but I saw you in Brazil. One of you was living in South America, if I remember rightly. You were living in South America.
Yeah, Colombia, yeah.
That's right, Colombia. Now you've moved from Colombia and you're now living down the road here in Saudi. And for you, it's a short hop, skip and a jump as you drove to this game, didn't you?
That's right. So, you're going to give away my trade secrets now. So obviously, I'm an expat for the last 25 years. And each time I've just magically been able to be in the right part of the world to go to the World Cup by commuting. So when we were in Colombia, we could drive down to the border in Colombia, take a little flight along the border to Manaus, and we were there in less than an hour from my house back in the day. This time round, a little bit longer. It took us 4.5 hours drive down from Riyadh, three checkpoints, checking whether our bus ticket to come across the border, and then here we are, late afternoon, having a pint, ready to go to the game.
What's the atmosphere been like in Riyadh?
Oh no, the Saudis, they love their football, and so the atmosphere has been tremendous. If you look at the number of visitors to the World Cup, the Saudis are about 2 or 3x what the rest of the world can put together. There's a lot of Americans that come here as well, obviously from the Aramco and the military guys in the region. But the Saudis, the atmosphere has been fantastic. Real great support for the World Cup.
And again, we talk about the alcohol thing. I mean, obviously in Saudi you can't drink, from what we can gather. That doesn't stop or am I getting it wrong? I don't know. Or you tell me.
Well, so if you come down to my house when you come and visit us, you'll have no problems. We can make sure you're well lubricated, and. To be quite honest, I mean, most of my Saudi mates also have a pretty good supply.
Okay, let's not say any more than that. So things aren't what they are, as they say. You know what I'm saying? But what are you going to say? Sorry.
I was going to say, 2 nights ago we went to Al Hilal versus Newcastle United in the middle of Riyadh, and it was a great break for the World Cup. Seeing Newcastle United players playing and playing against one of the biggest clubs in Riyadh. Yeah.
So coming back to this now, coming back to the game today, give us what's your score? Are you nervous? Do you think that we'll be okay? We have to beat one of these big teams at this stage, don't we?
Yeah, we've got to beat them. I mean, I'm sort of going between heart and head and logic. Obviously heart-wise you want to win it. Your head sort of says, oh well, look at the last sort of few times we played them, we struggled. But in all in all, if I look at the logic, I think our team is as good as, if not better than their team. So I think we'll edge it.
Meanwhile, out in Bordeaux in France, Steve the Bee was getting ready for the big match in Sweeney Todd's Bar. It's a bar run by a Brentford supporting English immigrant called Lance, and by all accounts, it can get rather lively.
Welcome to the besotted Pride of West London. in Bordeaux, France. My name is Steve, Bordeaux B. Lewis. I'm at the Sweeney Todd's pub, which is owned by massive Bees fan Lance Atwood. We've got a Brentford flag adorning the ceiling, a signed, framed Johan Barbe shirt. What more do you need? And Sweeney's is the expat sports pub at the heart of this football-mad city, Bordeaux. Earlier today, the quayside was reverberating with flags from Morocco fans celebrating after their 1-0 victory over Portugal. And tonight is the big one. This is the first ever World Cup knockout stage battle between England and France. Les Bleus against the Three Lions, and we're bringing you comments live from Sweeney Todd's in Bordeaux during the game. Lance, welcome. How are you feeling on the night of this big game?
Great. Looking forward to it. It's going to be awesome. It's like the crunch in rugby comes to football.
What about Sweeney Todd's? We've got a great France-England relationship going back year after year with the rugby. What about the football?
Well, let's hope it's as fair play as it is for the rugby, Steve.
And who's going to win today?
Of course, England. Come on.
What are your fears of tonight's game?
I haven't got any.
That's perfect. Thanks, Lance. Look forward to the night. How are you feeling before the game?
Right. Very excited.
Yeah.
Nervous, of course.
Yeah.
But for once, I think we're matched. But we could just about do it. We could beat them.
Who do you think is going to win? Honestly, France or England?
Well, heart would say England, head would say France. But honestly, it's so even right now.
What are your fears for the game?
Mbappe. As
That's
everyone
it.
would say.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fair. How are you feeling before the game? Comment est-ce que vous sentez avant le match? How are you feeling? Fucking confident!
Very
Confident. Okay, well, we expect that. Who's going to win? France or England?
France.
What are your fears for tonight's game?
No fears.
No fears.
No fear.
No fears?
No fucking fears.
Okay, well, that's great.
Oh my God, we see the best win.
And who's the best team?
France, of course.
Have you any fears tonight, Anne? Any fears at all?
It's exciting.
Thank you very much. What do you think about tonight's game? Which way is it going to go, France or England?
2-1 pour la France.
Do you have any fears, any angoisse, any fears for tonight's game?
Ne blessez pas Mbappé.
Ah, that means don't make Mbappe injured.
Meanwhile, back in Qatar. We've got some fans in the house here. Qatari, you're a Qatari, but you support Morocco. Yeah. How was that for you today?
It's amazing.
Yeah?
Amazing feeling.
And tell me, why is it amazing feeling? I mean, listen, Morocco, their first ever World Cup semi-final. I mean, why is that feeling? Tell me.
It's something, it's something good for all the Arabic, It's for the whole Arabic country,
And tell me, how big is this for the whole of the Arabic community? Because, like, the World Cup's come here. It must make you feel proud for a start, is it?
Yeah, for sure. For sure, absolutely, for sure.
And now,
for sure, we are proud of that.
And now Morocco, I mean, they brought their fans. I mean, they're making some big noises, weren't they?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And today you were watching it in the Belgian bar here. You couldn't get tickets for the game because Moroccans, there are about 1 million Moroccans in Qatar.
Yeah. Actually, today there is three airplanes coming from Morocco.
Yeah.
3 airplanes with you cannot imagine. When I was in the stadium looking for the ticket. You haven't idea.
There's no chance.
No chance. Yeah.
No chance.
Yeah.
So listen, I mean, next time you don't know it's going to be France or England in the semi-final. What do you think?
England. I think England. Yeah. I wish England.
Yeah. Come on, England.
Come on, England.
So listen, we're waiting here for our taxis to go to the stadium here now. Lots of England fans are feeling quite jubilant because they've watched that Morocco team take apart Portugal, they've made us cry on a number of occasions. But we saw them cry today, and they were crying in a major way, weren't they?
They were crying, yeah. Not as much as we will be later if we lose.
Oh, listen, the negativity. We can't be having any negativity in this one.
I think 3-0 England. I am confident we are going to win, but...
Coming back to this World Cup, I mean, how long have we been out? How many matches?
This is our third game, us two. These guys have been various games, but yeah, it's our third game. Been brilliant, absolutely brilliant, everything about it.
Yeah, and I mean, what was your favourite game out of all these ones?
Senegal so far, Senegal. We were sitting right by the drummers in the Senegal. It was fantastic, it was phenomenal.
That's right.
The atmosphere was amazing.
Gareth Southgate, listen, there's been, he's managed to just take us to the next level, hasn't he?
Southgate, big fan. As long as he keeps the same team tonight. He cannot change the formation. He can't do it. As long as we keep the 4-3-3, I'm happy with him.
And yourself, I mean, you've been to many games as well. I mean, I'm not going to say anything because I've got a daughter probably about your age as well. She's crying because she wants to be out here, but you're very lucky.
Yeah, I feel very lucky. I've been to 3 so far. I also really like the Sengal one though. Yeah. I think that one was my favourite. That's
true. And the thing about it is that are you going to be, and again, Touchwood here to the very end, to the final?
This might be our last game. We'll see.
We might try.
We're going to be looking forward to the next couple.
Yeah.
All right, well, good luck to you anyway. Enjoy the game.
Thank you.
Cheers, have a good one.
We all know what happened next. France go ahead. England equalise with a Harry Kane penalty. France go ahead again. Then Harry Kane gets a chance to even things up on 84 minutes from the penalty spot and completely skies it. It's all too easy to blame the referee, who was truly awful, but score that chance, Harry Kane, and England would have had the momentum. We head back to Bordeaux, where the French fans are truly celebrating.
Margot from Swinny Tots. What are your thoughts on tonight's game?
It was the best quarter-final of the fall.
Was it a fair result as far as you're concerned?
It was the best result ever. I'm French. It was the best result we could have for.
Talk us through the game. What are the key points as far as you're concerned?
Oh, the game was made by Loris. Go Loris!
Who's going to win the World Cup now? So Lance, what are your thoughts after tonight's game?
Absolutely gutted. We had it all there in front of us, and again, the curse of the penalty. Doesn't have to be a shootout. Poor Harry. I feel so sorry for him.
Do you think it was a fair result?
No, I think the ref was an absolute disgrace tonight.
Yeah.
I think France, on the whole of it, probably deserved to go through, but no, with a different ref, a different day.
Game of 4 chances, 2 penalties, 1 lost by England.
Yeah, totally. It was on a knife edge.
Yeah.
We could have done it, but hey, we go on, we continue, we'll be stronger.
Okay, we're now down to the last 4. Who's going to win the World Cup?
It's France.
There we go.
So back in Qatar, here are some final thoughts. So match is over, and I'm not even going to dwell on this too much. We're on the coach on the way back. Listen, England once again haven't got to where we expected them to be. What I will say is that, I think they played their hearts out. After a slow start where we went behind, I thought they played brilliant. They played really well. Lloris saved them a number of times, and unfortunately Harry Kane, who had 2 penalties, put one in the back of the net, and the second one he put it over the bar, and I think that was the moment when we all knew that it wasn't to be. I'm here with Rosie, and Rosie's actually been out here working. She's an England fan, but she's been working out here in the stadiums, so you've seen quite a lot of football and footballing people. First of all, about the match, it's a bit of a go, isn't it?
Yeah, really gutting. Like you say, it was a bit of a slow start to the game. But I do think we were the better team, and I think we was a bit unfortunate to lose today. And unfortunately, like you said, with the Harry Kane penalty, as soon as that went over the bar, I thought, that's it for us, I think.
I mean it's difficult, it's difficult because, whatever you do, at the end of the day, it's not going to be right unless we win the game. Is there an argument to say that, was there anything that we did wrong today, or was it just, it wasn't to be?
No, I don't think we did necessarily anything wrong. I think I'm actually quite proud of them, how they played today, and I think they all done their best and put a good shift in. I think it just wasn't meant for us today, and I think France got lucky, to be honest.
I mean, you're a footballer yourself. I mean, you played for Charlton. You're out here. You're doing football stuff. You're in the stadiums. You're doing a lot of football workshops, a lot of football drills, doing lots of stuff with people in and around football. How has this World Cup been for you as a footballer, and also kind of seeing the people, how they're reacting to it? I guess coming to Qatar itself and seeing how the fans are reacting to that has been interesting, and also just it's been interesting seeing the dynamics of the different fans that have coming in. From working at the stadiums, I found that, like, for example, the South American fans are unbelievable, and an unbelievable support, and the fans that have travelled out here to support their team. Unbelievable in what way?
I think just their support and their enthusiasm, and the backing of their team as well. It's been particularly interesting seeing, I guess, the Argentinian fans and how much they love Messi and how they want Argentina to do really well just for Messi, and everything seems to be surrounded about, we want Argentina to win it just for him. yeah, I think that's been an interesting part, and seeing the dynamics of the different fans that have come out here. And
okay, so I mean, you like I said, you work in the stadiums and you've been working with all the different fans. Who have been the top 3 best fans that you've interacted with then?
I'd say the Mexicans.
They're mad. They're bonkers, aren't they?
Absolutely bonkers. Yeah, loved it. They've after a few beers, they can be a bit rowdy, and loved it. Yeah, smacking the balls around in the drills that we've been doing.
And which is interesting because you talk about, once there are a few beers that get a bit rowdy. I mean, everyone associates just England with drinking beer and football culture. Yeah. But the one thing that was really glaringly obvious for me to this World Cup was, with all the fans in one place, that everybody basically pretty much drinks beer. Football culture revolves around beer for every country. Did you find that again when you work in the stadium?
Yeah, I think like I say, definitely the South Americans was all with the drink, and I think as well it brought atmosphere to the stadiums as well. So when they come in, they're all, I guess, a bit mellow, but once they leave the stadium to have a bit of music and have a few drinks, they're so up for it. And I think it does bring a better atmosphere to the stadium. I don't think you need to have a drink to have a good time, but it does bring something, I think, to the games. And I don't know. Yeah.
So number 1 is Mexico. Number 2,
Argentina, I think, for sure. Yeah.
And why is that then?
Again, they like to get involved in everything that was at the hospitality area. They wasn't scared to get involved in anything. They were already chanting before, I guess, they're leaving the stadiums in hospitality. They're watching the games as well. And afterwards, it's literally just like a festival when they leave. And I think the third fans, I want to say, are probably Brazil. Is it Brazil? The game they played 9-7-4 the other day. I can't remember what game it was.
It's a Brazil game. Which Brazil game was it?
Brazil-Ghana, maybe. Well, anyway, at the hospitality area, they had Cameroon. At the hospitality area, they had a Brazil band playing. And, pretty much one of them stole the mic off the band and was just, like, chanting all these Brazilian. And it was just like a festival. So I think, probably from looking at it in summary, I think it looks like the South Americans have taken the win for the I guess the best fans that I've seen in the the least.
I've
got one more, if I could say, the Moroccans. Yeah. I went to the Portugal-Moroccan game today. I saw the first half, and they were just non-stop in the stadium, unbelievable. And I did think today, if we did lose against France, that it would actually be a really tough game against them, just because of their fans. And I guess to them, they're like a 12th man to them. So yeah, even them as well, if I can add that one in.
And the worst? And the worst?
Worst? Oh, I'm going to say France, just because of what happened today. I'm joking.
There you go. So listen here, cheers, Rose. So listen, characters, just quickly, just a quick thought on today.
I'm very raw, man. Yeah, that's a bit raw. Look.
I mean, listen. What I'll say is that we've been through this many times. We've been in Kiev. We've been to all these places. We've seen England lose, and then we've been on buses like this. Or the one thing about it is that after the match, normally you can actually sit down in the bar, have a few beers, and pontificate. This is not quite going to be quite happening today, is it?
Yeah, no, that's annoying me. But I've been offered tea and toast, so I'll take that. Happily take that. But no, my post-match debrief. Ain't happening. I could really do with a couple of pints just to sit down, because I thought we played really well. Slow getting into the game. The goal woke us up. Like you said, Bill. You walk out of Russia, Euros. You just think we probably weren't good enough tactically, ability-wise. Today, this tournament, I just feel that we were a match for anyone, and that was the big game. And I can just imagine the narrative now. We can't beat the big teams when I think we can, and it's annoying. It's just not. It's stumbled again. But that's it. It was a stumble. There's plenty more to come from this squad.
Yeah, basically the frustration. We played really well. Got to be proud of the boys' performance, but the pride will come a bit later. At the moment, it's just frustration. What could have been again. So yeah, just low, but we'll go again at some point in time.
What about in the stadium? What about the atmosphere in the stadium? What do you think?
Poor, really. I know it was poor, like in the last round against Senegal. I put that down to a kind of expectation that we'd get through, and nothing's achieved by getting to quarterfinals as such. But today was the game, the tournament hinged on this game. But yet the atmosphere wasn't there. We should have been singing all game, backing the boys. The boys gave us stuff to get us backing them. But I can't put my finger on why that didn't happen. Very weird.
Somebody asked me on a radio interview earlier, and they said, did they think the lack of alcohol resulted in a lack of atmosphere? In particular with the England fans, and I'm just wondering whether or not, again, we had a very relaxed kind of entrance to this game. We kind of hung out a little bit. We just kind of, it was just quite nice. We went to the souk, then we went to a bar. We had a couple of beers beforehand. Then we kind of came in, and it was all very mellow. Whereas normally, you go to the game, you go to the square, you get there at 11 or 12 o'clock. It's all getting all hyped up. Everyone's getting really hyped up. But that didn't really happen today, did it?
I don't think so, Bill. I don't think it's that. I don't know. What it can't put it down to. It just wasn't there in the games that I've been. It's all very pleasant. Obviously, you're going to have a few idiots, as we discovered today. But I couldn't put my finger on it. For a quarter-final big game, that I wondered whether it was the stadiums but speaking to others that have been to follow Brazil or Argentina or the South Korea, the stadiums are bouncing. I just don't know what it was.
You think it's a stadium?
Because I've worked at all of the stadiums really, and I think particularly Al Bayt. I think the problem with this one, so all the other stadiums you can get a direct metro to, so you get the build-up of all the fans travelling to the stadiums all together. Here, you get the metro up, and then all the fans are split up onto buses. So everyone gets on the bus, and it just goes dead quiet on these coaches. Like, even on the way home, you think there'd be France fans cheering right now. It's nothing, and I think it's that getting split up is causing all the atmosphere to die. That's what I've found. Every stadium I've ever been to, the atmospheres have been really good, and every time I've come to Al Bayt, it's just been dead.
You lost so much time travelling to get there. Any buzz you've kind of built up kind of dissipates because it's over that 2 hours or so, whatever, and then you can't get a beer at the ground, even the perimeter. They stopped that 2 days before the tournament. Thanks a lot. So it just kind of fades away. It's a contributing factor, but it's not everything, is it? Because the other fans, like the Africans and Moroccans Senegal, and all that, and the South Americans, doesn't seem to stop them. So
no, that's so. And Reg's in the house here as well. I know that very upset. Once again we didn't get over the finish line as such. In fact, to be fair, we're actually a fair way from the finish line because we probably had another lap to go before we were actually going to get to the finish line, and we didn't even. Yeah, we pulled up before the final lap on this one as well. I'm not going to ask if it's a fair result because I don't think that's a fair question. But I'm just wondering. I'm going to ask you more to point is that just give us your thoughts on today and the match and England and where we go from here.
I think it was a really positive performance. I think everyone gave it 100%. I think we've shown that we've got the talent, we've got the skill, the team camaraderie. When they came out on the pitch at the beginning, they were all hugging each other before kick-off, and just feels like they've got a really good atmosphere in the team camp. And I saw us today, and I was lucky to see Brazil the other day, and that was magic. And our performance in that second half was magic. I was really quite overwhelmed, to be honest. I mean, that's why I was just a bit stunned at the end, because it just didn't feel right that we lost that game. And I actually got a lot more emotional than what I thought I would, because just the way the crowd responded at the end. I know the atmosphere was flat during the game, but the way they responded at the end when everyone just stood there clapping them, that really got me. I thought that was really nice. And all the players came and stood there for ages facing us. I just thought that was a really special moment for me. And it actually made me quite emotional, which took me a bit by surprise.
I mean, very emotional. It's really hard because it's what else. You don't want to talk about this much more, because at the end of the day, England have once again not got through to where we expected them to. If anything, we've dropped a couple of levels. You know, we dropped a couple of levels. It's difficult. Yeah, we're playing France. You know, we got to final, we got a semi-final. This is now quarter-final. So if anything, you could say we're going backwards. The question I'm going to ask is, where does it go now for Gareth Southgate? Anyone thoughts?
Oh, I like him. I think he deserves another shot for sure. Like the performance he like today, I think there is definitely potential in this team, and I think that he's building quite a good unit. And as you said, seeing the camaraderie together, he shows that he's doing something right. But we'll see.
Yeah, I've got no problem with Southgate in this tournament. Whereas I did have a problem, obviously with Russia and the Euros. But this tournament, I've seen us progress. I think his coaching, his tactical ability, in-game management, I've seen a progression on that. I just wonder whether it might be worth him maybe freshening up his coaching staff or something like that, just to keep it moving on and stuff like that. And then, to be honest, yeah, you know, look, if you said to me, I would have said quarterfinals. We just lost to the world champions undeservedly. Very, very tough game. Plus, do you know what? Who else is there? Who else?
Gareth Southgate?
Yeah, I think he needs to be given another chance. I think he's built something really special, and he's got to be given another chance. I hate the Southgate bashing, to be honest with you. I think he's a great manager.
With the whole the team, the media, you know, they're a very likeable. They seem a very likeable team, well squad, very close together, and you know, I think he's done a lot of work bringing the fans back on board. And the media as well, to a certain degree as well. So.
Okay, so interesting. So still thumbs up for Gareth Southgate here as well. I mean, people know that I've been a Southgate fan, but you know, and it's not a but I'm not quite sure whether or not, you know, maybe time to move on. You know, and this is not bashing him. I'm just sort of saying, you know, there's natural processes that may happen. You know, maybe it might be time to move on, but we shall see. So the World Cup is over. A week after this was recorded, Lionel Messi and Argentina lifted the cup, beating the French in the final with what was an enthralling match. I'm not going to lie here and to say I was all over one team or the other. I actually watched the game like a Grinch in the corner, working out how both teams could possibly lose. I'm sitting there with my fingers crossed. I'm not keen on France, I'm not keen on Argentina, and that's for footballing reasons and for fan reasons as well, and that's just the way it goes. Having been in close contact with Argentina and their fans at pretty much every World Cup that I've been to since 1990, I find it hard to cheer them on. They're like my Fulham of international teams, and that's me speaking as a Brentford fan. As for France, well, you know, at the end of the day, they got what they got. They learn how to get the results out, and they're really frustrating. But I know that we could have beaten them on our day, but the luck was with them. The Qatar World Cup, well, that was an interesting World Cup, I'd say. If you listen to all the episodes here on PrideOfWest.London, you know that I came here to Qatar with open eyes, and I came here to learn. I wasn't happy with the constant Qatar bashing that was taking place. But on the other hand, you know also I wasn't happy about Qatar getting the World Cup. But the fact is, it was a done deal. It was done. The World Cup was going to happen. So I thought I'd go out there with open eyes. But at the same time, I also felt that the competition had many faults. And as someone who's been to 8, and I say not 9 as I thought previously, I actually counted them up a few days ago, World Cups, this competition, and that's as I'll reflect back on it, ranked 8 out of 8 for me. And I say that and people get really confused because I said it's 8 out of 8, but my World Cups still start at about 5 or 5.5 out of 10 because there's nothing better than going abroad, football, sun, you know, having laughs and just going out and having it. But still, if I rank them against all the other World Cups, it is definitely 8 out of 8 for me, possibly being pipped to the bottom by France 98 if I have a little bit more time to reflect, because that World Cup, I was there for a long time as well, wasn't the best. Anyway, I still had a great time hanging with football fans all over the world, hanging with my mates, meeting some great people. We had to work to have fun, it has to be said, but we did have fun. And it was warm, the food was good, the locals were friendly. And when I got back home for a few days in the middle, I realised that actually being out there in Qatar was 100 times better than watching the World Cup back at home, where there was zero vibe. Running a few of the best and the worst for me. The best match, Brazil versus Croatia, by a million miles. That was brilliant. There was a load of us in the Radisson bar upstairs inside because it was a bit cold that day, and we just got together one evening. It was spontaneous, and we watched two matches, the Brazil game and the Argentina game that day, and we had such a laugh. It was brilliant. It was better than all the England games. It was better than any other of the games that I saw. We had a great evening that time, so that was the best match for me. We were slapping the walls when when Croatia was scoring. It was absolutely brilliant. The worst match, probably, and I have to say that straight up, is actually probably England versus USA. It did the job, but as a match itself and the vibe around it, it wasn't great. Before the match, it was good actually at the Radisson, but afterwards, it wasn't great. The most fun day, again, the Radisson bar in the evening I've just talked about. Also, very early on in the tournament, the day when Saudis beat Argentina as well, we watched that with a load of Mexicans in a bar, and that was a really good laugh. And obviously, if you listen to the podcast, the days that, hanging out in the Brazilian bars, especially the first day that we watched the Brazil versus Cameroon game at 900 Park with the Brazilian Movimento del Amarelo, Movimento del Amarelo as well, who invited us to 900 Park, and we watched it with them, and that was a great party as well. What the Brazilians did, as I said, they found a bar, they hired it out, they got Brahma to sponsor their beer, and they took it over. So they actually took the party and made a party in Qatar, and that was actually really great. But that just goes to show you how you can't be spontaneous. You actually have to work really hard to make the party out there. Running through, like I said to you, I've run through a few of the best and the worst as well. Positives for me for Qatar: it was warm. The fans are great, regardless, the fans are really great, it was cheap and easy to get about, and it's also cheap food, and also, like I said to you, it was friendly and it was non-abrasive, and like I said to you, fair play to the people that were out there that made it really warm and welcoming for us. The negatives: the lack of spontaneity. Like, you couldn't just walk out and just go into somewhere in your local neighbourhood or go to somewhere in town. There was a lack of spontaneity. There's a lack of fan meeting places as such. You always had to work out where are the fans going to be next as well. And there was an urge to drive fans into corporate zones rather than finding their own places to hang. I mean, Lusail Boulevard would have been a brilliant place for everyone to hang out as well, in their sort of kind of high-tech lights and big screens and stuff. If everyone was hanging out there before and after matches, that would have been absolutely fantastic. I know some people might have been, but it wasn't really a centre of focus for fans. You just didn't know where to go. And I have to be honest as well, been to, like I said to you, 8 World Cups, been to 7 or 8 Euros as well. I think it's, I know they're trying to bring these tournaments to places that haven't had tournaments before, but it really does make a difference when you've got a real passion for football from the people who actually live in the place. People actually kind of make the place. France is a prime example of when they hold tournaments there all the time, and there's zero passion in France. I would have no more tournaments in France anymore, but you need a real feel and a passion within the people to actually make it feel like a real buzz. When you went to Japan, it's not a traditional footballing nation, but there was a massive buzz and a passion out in Japan, and I loved it as well. But you felt that there was a lack of that. So we went out and you enjoyed yourself, but you want to feel that buzz when you're going out. You feel the World Cup everywhere you go, and I'm going to say about alcohol, and I thought, going out there for a month for not drinking, I could do that, which is fine. But what I did realise is that there is a definite drinking culture around football. Doesn't mean you have to go out and get completely hammered, but what people do is that they sit down and they watch a game in an area with alcohol. And say, for example, you may have 10 people, and out of those 10 people, maybe 3 or 4 of them drinking, but you all get together and you watch games, and that's what people do. And I notice it's not only English as well, and Welsh, and from Scotland and like that. The Brazilians do it, the Mexicans do it, the Croatians do it, the Japanese do it. Everybody does it. They know that's the natural bringing together. And I think that I understand it's a culture of Qatar, and they're very conservative, but they missed out on a big trick there, because that bringing together of the fans really was missing as far as I was concerned in the World Cup. They may not care, but that really kind of just did knock it down, because you did not get that vibe that you do get at other World Cups. So I'm just giving my point of view. So the best fans for me: Japan, of course, I know that you hate that Nippon, but that stems back from 2002 in Japan when they started that chant, and it's one of those chants which is ingrained in Japanese culture. And if you're in the middle of those group singing through matches when they're expecting to lose and they start winning, it is wicked. So I love the Japanese fans; they are brilliant. Moroccan fans are very good as well. Brazilian fans, of course, actually they went up in my estimations this year. Tunisian fans, brilliant again. The Saudi fans really surprised me. They were absolutely potty for it as well. The Mexican fans were very good, and I didn't see them, but the Senegal fans, I told, were also very good. The worst fans, for me, it's really bad because I'm being a bit biased here, because I'm going to say Argentina fans, just because, again, the Fulham factor in me. The Argentina fans, the French fans as well, they don't travel very well and they're just not great. And also the USA fans, and I'm not bashing USA, but the USA fans they were flat. And it wasn't great. It's almost like they came there almost like half expecting to lose as well. So that was quite a strange vibe as well. But saying that, this World Cup has come to a close. I have to say, I'm really glad I went. I learned a lot. It's back to the league now for me with Brentford and Harry Kane visiting New Griffin Park on Boxing Day. Unfortunately, he's not going to have a World Cup medal in tow. So let's hope the Bees fans give him a positive welcome. So thanks for listening to Besotted in Qatar. Thanks to everyone who contributed to the series. Like I said, you get it on PrideOfWest.London. Go and listen back to it. It's a good listen as well. Don't forget to subscribe to Besotted on all good podcast channels. Buy us a beer if you want to. besotted.com/beer. And I'm going to say until next time, adios.